again, and welcome back to the show with Yasmin, Christo and Storm. And I'm thrilled to say that I'm also joined by scientist, science writer, broadcaster and ethnobotanist James Wong. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely not. Now, tell us, what is an ethnobotanist? What do you do?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's essentially a very convoluted term for a botanist, a plant scientist, that really specializes in plant use. So that might be for food or for medicine or for textiles or all the different ways we use plants.
Wow, so it's a very specific part of the plant world.
Absolutely. So we're kind of half anthropologist, I guess, and half botanist. I argue that we're the only botanist with social skills because we have to talk to people. Everyone else just looks at cells under a microscope or DNA and tries to figure out how plants are related to
And you
each
don't
other.
just talk to your plants either.
Well, I do a bit of that, and occasionally I have to talk to you guys.
Does that work? Does talking to plants make them more healthy?
There has been very little research on it. And one of the things that may happen is when you're talking to them, you're spending more time with them and noticing things like a pest infestation, or you notice whether they're dry or not. We know that plants do respond to vibrations, so they respond to sounds, and they respond to different ones selectively. But in terms of whether just talking to them improves their growth, there really isn't really solid evidence for that.
Have one in this show. We'd have so much conversation on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You keep doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's the only company I get.
Well, then that's fine.
James, so how did you get into becoming an ethnobotanist?
Oh, well, I think that everyone has an inbuilt instinct to find plants fascinating. So the very way we see the world, we can see more shades of green than we can any other colour, like vastly more shades of green. And it's because when we were wandering around the Serengeti...
When we were hunter-gatherers.
Exactly. It allowed us to better distinguish between plants, so we could tell the toxic from the tasty. And that still affects how we see the world today. So there is, everything from our colour vision to the fact that our eyes are on the front of our head, which is unusual. Most mammals have them on their sides. And it's because we were better able to have 3D vision.
I think it'd be unusual if we were going around with our eyes on the side of our head.
Most things, if you look at deer, if you look at sheep, all of these things, they have eyes on the sides of the head because they can spot predators from a distance on the horizon. Okay. Whereas humans, when we were swinging through branches of trees, we needed great 3D vision. Yeah. So I think that we're built to be botanists, but sometimes culture gets in the way. Sometimes, I don't know, Justin Bieber gets in the way of us discovering that plants are amazing.
So you kind of touched on it, but why is it so important, and how comes we've lost that instinct?
I think we've lost it because we have lost connection with the natural world. So I've recently been involved with a study run by YEO Organic, and we found that 48%... No, wait, I've got it... Yes, got my stats right.
It's okay.
I always have a spreadsheet in front of me. 48% of people believe they don't spend enough time in the natural world. They don't spend enough time outdoors. And that's a real travesty because we know that, anecdotally, if you're a plant person, if you're an outdoor person, you know it improves your mood. But we now have a really, really solid stack of data that's showing that it can measurably do everything from reducing your heart rate to reducing levels of stress hormones to improving self-worth. It can even improve exercise performance, and entirely for free just by stepping into green space and within seconds.
And if people can't get to the outdoors, talk to me about this trend called grounding.
Oh my gosh, this is a fascinating trend, right?
I like this. Your eyes have lit up.
Oh gosh, no. For me, as someone who studies culture and our cultural relationship with plants, there is this kind of Paltrow-esque celebrity trend.
What's a Paltrow?
Like Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm not sure if she specifically is a fan of it, but it's that kind of group of people who think that by walking barefoot on the earth, or by lying on the earth and lying in water, you somehow have huge health benefits. Everything from reduced inflammation to reduced stress, and it's to do with an electrical signal that your body is making.
Just lying on the ground.
Yeah. Now,
pretty much like every city on a weekend on a Saturday night. Pretty much.
So there is. You may argue that isn't hugely scientifically sound. And there has been a very limited number of trials which do demonstrate that there could be some use. However, in almost all of these trials, the real benefits tend to be just from being in green space. There is, you can even buy like grounding kits where you stick a rod in the ground, a metal rod, and you connect yourself to the rod using wires.
You're having a laugh, James. Come on.
They exist. You know what? You don't have to buy that. You can just walk around your park with shoes on and get that benefit, and in a really short space of time. Even having a house plant, like having a green view in a hospital, there's been a study where they compared beds that looked out onto windows with walls versus a green view, and they found significantly improved healing time. So having a houseplant can make a difference.
So talk to us about plants as well. I mean, I'm really rubbish at looking after plants.
Oh, yeah?
Give us the plants that are the easiest ones to look after or the hardest ones to kill.
Okay, so there are lots and lots of really easy options.
And
I
tips.
I would suggest that probably the easiest one would be cast iron plant, known for a good reason as the cast iron plant. It's impossible to kill. Aspidistra.
Is this a cast iron plant?
Oh my gosh, you've got one already. It's like you've done your homework.
Yeah, we're not messing about here. Come on.
I recently bought one. About this time last year. And it got delivered, to my mum's house. I bought it for her, and the postman delivered it.
Why did you get your mum a cast iron plant? Don't you trust her?
She's terrible with plants. It's not genetic, you know. I'm the outlier in this. So I got her this, and it was delivered, and they put it in like a cupboard she has on the outside of her front door, and it stayed there because I didn't tell her it was a surprise. It stayed there for 2 months.
Oh wow, she's bad with plants.
Got it out. I opened it out of the box. It was still alive. It hadn't been watered, it hadn't had any light for 8 weeks.
And it was still alive.
So, I mean, it wasn't happy, but it wasn't dead.
Wow.
So if you can keep, plants are living solar panels. If you have a solar panel that's in the dark and untreated for that long and allegedly is supposed to work, I mean, it's miraculous. It's the one plant to go for.
Now, I must talk to you about your meeting with David Attenborough. The first time you met him. Yes, tell us about that.
Well, so David Attenborough has been, as you know, to so many people, their hero since they were a kid, and the reason why I became a botanist is in 1993 I was still in school and I watched David Attenborough's Private Life of Plants, and it just like my brain went like this, just completely exploded. I didn't know. I mean, I grew up in Singapore and I was watching it there, and I saw all of these plants like pitcher plants that I thought were from Mars, and then when he mentioned that they were from Southeast Asia, I was like, what, from here? No, you have to go to the other side of the world. And I saw them the next day at the bus stop. I went on that bus stop to school every day and I'd never noticed them. And then when he did that, it just completely changed my mind. So I had to meet him once because I was working at Kew Gardens and they said, they're going to be there and you're going to meet him. And I was like, it's like the worst thing in the world because what on earth are you going to say to him? And I told this to a friend of mine and he said, whatever you say, don't say I loved you in Jurassic Park. And it's all I could think of. And I saw it. And I was like, that's so inappropriate. So it was a lot of like nervous giggling and sort of like, oh, I think you're so great, David.
So you went and stroked David.
There was a little bit of that, yeah. He may or may not remember this story. He may have blocked it out of his mind.
He's a hero for many of us, so it's
Absolutely.
totally understandable.
Well, isn't it interesting? The Victorians were really interested in plants, and so many of them became amateur botanists and made these beautiful drawings, including novelists like George Eliot and so on. They really loved looking into plant life.
Yeah, and particularly things like horticultural therapy. That was really developed by the Victorians. And
we lost that somehow.
Yeah, but when we didn't even have a word for PTSD, we were calling it things like shell shock after the wars. People were sent to green spaces and green hospitals. Windows were opened. People were wheeled out, patients were wheeled out to be able to really experience the benefits of the natural world. And we didn't actually even have data then. Now we have growing stacks of data.
James, James, if we want to find out more information about grounding, where can we go?
I think the best place is YEO Valley Organics website because we have the full range of stats from the study there and you can read about it for yourself.
No, thank you so much, James. I feel grounded already, actually. Yes, Storm, BBC World's first ever bungee jumper, David Kirky.
Yeah, this is not going to make you feel very grounded, and I don't think it's supposed to. So, David